Hi, it's John, and welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your day. Sunday, December the 15th. I've got the big blue mug of coffee just after 5 o'clock in the morning, and it is Sunday, December the 15th. 10 sleeps until Santa. Merry Christmas to you and your family. Something a little bit different for you today. And I don't know what it was that got me thinking about this morning, but I got up and listened to an interview that I did about 15 years ago, pretty close. I know that the file in the computer was put into my computer, an older computer. Obviously, I've got a new one today, back in 2010. So that's how old this is. And it's with a very important person in your life, a very consequential person in your life who is in the news constantly here in Canada today. Now, before I get to who it is, I used to do a radio program in Ontario, in Cornwall, Ontario, called Cornwall Today. I worked in radio for over 30 years, and I loved this job. I got to do interviews, at least 8 interviews every morning, talking to people from all over the world about everything. Lots of politicians, Stephen Harper, Jack Layton, Premier Dalton McGuinty. I spoke to him over the years as well. Today, you're going to hear from Justin Trudeau. Now, before you tune out, listen to this from 15 years ago, because it's quite fascinating on what he talks about then and how some of that relates to what's going on right now. Now, before you look at this interview or listen to this interview and think about it through a lens of today, the word diversity is brought up in this interview, and I had no idea we talked about this. But diversity wasn't the dirty word it is now. Back then, we also talk about the legacy of his old man. We talk about divisiveness in politics, and I find that fascinating because earlier this week, Pierre Poilievre was speaking with a host on CJAD out of Montreal, and he talked about divisiveness in politics, and he talked about Justin Trudeau when he brought up the word. He also talks about volunteerism, which immediately had me thinking about the We Charity when I listened to it this morning. Now, as far as things go, Trudeau was a brand new MP at this point. He was elected for the first time in 2008 as the MP in Papineau, Quebec, re-elected in 2011, and that was the year that Stephen Harper won a majority government. Michael Ignatieff was the leader of the Liberals at that point, stepped down. Bob Rae became the interim leader of the party. Then, as we know, Trudeau ran for the leadership, won it in 2013, and became the prime minister in 2015. So listen to this interview, about 5.5 minutes, me with Justin Trudeau in front of a bunch of Liberal faithful is where he spoke in Cornwall, Ontario, about 15 years ago. Enjoy. Justin Trudeau joins me, and thank you very much for speaking to me today. Very nice to meet you as well.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be back in Cornwall.
I was touched by your speech here today, and you're talking to obviously liberal faithful here, but you really started off your speech talking about trying to draw people in, trying to sort of cross a gap and get people to work sort of for a common good in our country. What's that message about, and why is that important to you?
Well, much of the cynicism that we get these days around politics is because so much of politics divides people, finds wedge issues and tries to play numbers against each other and one group against the other. And yes, you can get yourself elected. Stephen Harper is proof by doing that. But that's not the way to build the future of a country, particularly a country as diverse as Canada. The strength of this country is in its diversity, in the different backgrounds, the different languages, the different religions, but also the different points of views. And if we're going to build a country that is playing the role that the planet needs it to play on so many different levels, then it's going to be by working together.
I'm just wondering, though, obviously, and you made a joke about you could almost feel the love in the room there, but there was a stadium out there of people who probably didn't like you because you're a Liberal. But at the same time, you sort of came off that message of drawing people in, and at the same time, you bashed the people who believe in what Mr. Harper believes in. Isn't that an important part of trying to change politics a little bit? Because I kind of heard that in your message today as well.
Well, I think you bring up a good point, that it's important to be able to disagree with people and disagree with the execution of people and still hold respect for them. And I think I indicated my respect for the fact that Mr. Harper has a particular ideology around smaller government, around less presence in people's lives. My criticism of Mr. Harper is one that he has strayed so far from his own stated ideology and views that we no longer know what it is that he stands for. And my concern is that he's lost his anchor. He's lost his philosophical grounding, which is so important for any politician to hold on to and to remain true.
But how has the Liberal Party changed? I mean, the Liberals got turfed out of the last time. Mr. Martin didn't do very well because of the past and some of the things that happened. Ad scam certainly comes to mind. How has the Liberal Party changed over the last few years? You certainly have a new leader now, but would it not be more of the same?
Well, one of the things that we're looking at right now is rebuilding the Liberal Party from the ground up, reaching out to grassroots, reaching out to basic organizational elements, to bottom level fundraising, involving more young people in, getting the party rebuilt from the ground up, because there is no question that the Liberal Party is a party of the centre, but as has been proved many times in the past, if you want to hold on to the centre, you have to make the centre a place of reform. And that's what the Liberal Party is. We're taking a very serious look at all the big challenges we're facing, and we're big tent enough to be able to draw in people from all sides, not just as voters, but as people who can offer solutions. And I think that openness towards engaging everyone in this important dialogue in a very transparent, in a very generous way is what the Liberal Party is best at, and that's what we're doing.
Can I change gears just for a moment? I think it was in October you drew a good lot. You had an opportunity to stand up in Parliament. You had an opportunity to talk about youth volunteerism. I know that's been a big part of your father's past. Sort of carrying on with the legacy of what your dad did with that particular thing?
It's not so much about carrying on the legacy of my father as being true to the values that I was raised with. And one of the things that I've been incredibly lucky with all my life is to have understood that as an individual I can make a difference. And for me, one of the great tragedies of our modern Western civilization is the individual doesn't always feel like they have a capacity to contribute to make the world a better place. And one of the really powerful ways of doing that is to encourage volunteerism and encourage a year of service for young people who want to, who can get out and discover how they can make a difference in the world. And that would have tremendous benefits for community organizations, for individuals, for young people who will discover how they can make a difference. And it's something I think we need more of.
Just one more question. Certainly, people look up there on the stage and they see an impressive person, a great speech. But certainly people look up there and they say, hey, that's Pierre Trudeau's son. Is there an immense amount of pressure on you because of what your dad meant, and because of him being the Prime Minister, and because of him probably being the most famous Prime Minister ever in Canada?
I think most of the pressure, yes, people tend to put a pressure on me. I think they put pressure on me. The biggest pressure comes from myself. I know that I was incredibly lucky growing up to have had a mom and a dad who loved me, who offered me all sorts of different ways to grow, to develop, to challenge myself, a great education, a chance to travel around the country and around the world. I've been given a lot. And therefore, the pressure on me is to be worthy of some of the things I was given. But that's something that we all share. Every single one of us, just by dint of living in Canada, has been incredibly lucky in their lives. And we all need to figure out how to step up and contribute. And, as for the pressure on me, I was raised by a man who gave me strong shoulders.
Justin Trudeau is the MP for Papineau. Thank you very much for joining me on Cornwall today.
Real pleasure.
So what do you think? I'd love to hear what your thoughts are in the comments below about that interview from almost 15 years ago with Justin Trudeau. I think I said at the beginning that his speech in front of the party faithful at the Cornwall Civic Complex that day touched me, and it probably did. At that point, he was talking about bringing people back into the Liberal Party. And, you have to give the guy credit. He did that in a big way. He won huge in 2015, and he's been the Prime Minister of the country for the last almost 10 years. But he has also been an incredibly divisive Prime Minister, and he has divided our country more than anything. And isn't it fascinating? That was brought up in the interview as well. Leave your comments below. Love to hear from you. I'll read them all. Maybe I'll do a follow-up on it. And thanks for watching this video. See you in the next one.